thick scientific papers, so it was rather difficult to communicate the result of the findings into the language which decision makers probably should understand. I think it's an excellent approach. So, Michael, your experience with those intellectual processes.
Thank you. Well, with the national intersectoral committees, it's been interesting because it's evident that in both countries, and I'm sure it's typical of countries worldwide, there is a high degree of territoriality. Competition for funds, competition for workspace, but the process has been interesting because, for example, in Peru, the entity which is responsible for the national parks and the National Fisheries Institution are examples of these entities that feel perhaps that they have a God-given right to only be the entity working in the marine spatial planning area. So I think the project has been useful because in order for the project to operate, we have to get these two entities to work together. And that hopefully will bring some sustainability in the long run. When we then move up to the transboundary diagnostic analysis level, it's been interesting that it is evident that we have to have the politicians on board at an early stage, because if we come to them with a document like the one that Porfirio showed, once the scientists have done their work, or these participatory committees have done their work, in all likelihood it will be thrown out because there's not enough, the budget is not sufficient. So that's a lesson that we've learned very early on in the process. The process is not easy, the transboundary diagnostic analysis, because inevitably there are national issues which tend to affect the process. But having said that, with a great deal of concern when we started this process between Chile and Peru, and when we heard that the Chilean and the Peruvian navies had their representatives coming to the meeting, we were, needless to say, concerned that they worked very well together. So, life is full of surprises, and don't assume that it's going to be more complicated than it ends up being. So I think that was a good, an encouraging point. Having said that, though, we have been told that with the shared fishery, we are not able to work at a binational level until after August this year. And that is because the International Court of Justice will make its decision probably in June. And that's part of life. So, but the transboundary diagnostic analysis should be ready in November, and hopefully that will be approved towards the end of this year. And then the strategic action program, we're not waiting until the TDA is finished before starting, because we're trying to get the politicians on board as soon as possible.
Okay, I think I want to first invite everyone to thank this roundtable. In the context of a perfect loop, close the cycle, etc., I would like to invite Ken to make some very brief closing remarks and invite everyone to the reception.
Well, I would like to thank the audience. It's been a long afternoon, but it's been an interesting afternoon and a very useful afternoon. We thank the panelists, we thank the speakers. We want you to know you can be rewarded by moving over to the pavilion, where you will find some liquid refreshment, and you will also find some hors d'oeuvres. We don't want you to find them cold. So in the next few minutes, I would suggest that we all move to the pavilion. As a housekeeping note, there is a bus company that runs a shuttle about every 20 minutes. They usually stop their shuttling at 5 p.m., but in light of this conference, they're going to be with us right through to 7:30. And they shuttle over to the T station. As a bit of information.